Well, the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, a dark piece of Tulsa's history that has massive ripple effects, even now, nearly a century later. Just one example of historical trauma, and it's a big topic of a symposium on racial historical trauma happening today in Tulsa. Director News' Tatiana Taylor joins us live this morning to tell us about that 2020 Zaro Symposium and break down what historical trauma really means. Tatiana, good morning.
Well, Travis, good morning. You know, historical trauma is really a simple concept, but it can be truly hard for many people to truly understand. I spoke with Mark Davis with the Mental Health Association Oklahoma, who really dug deep into the understanding of what this really means.
Emotionally disturbing, very negatively, psychologically impacting.
A large negative event with negative impact, negative situations, or a series of negative circumstances that impacts generations of people. That's one way to break down historical trauma.
Result in deep levels of unresolved grief and feelings of distress, depression, and just suffrage, emotional suffrage and pain.
One prime example, Black Wall Street, a black business district gleaming with the country's brightest up-and-coming business people. It had an airport, over 20 churches, social opportunities, more than 30 restaurants, entertainment, medical facilities, you name it, all destroyed, burned to the ground in the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre.
Many of the individuals had insurance coverage on their homes and on their businesses. And many of those insurance coverages weren't honored by the cities.
And despite insurance not being honored by officials, Black Wall Street was rebuilt after this devastating event. But today, there's just one block left standing.
That feeling of that, as I said earlier, that emotional grief, that pain, that suffrage, that loss. And that hasn't been dealt with. That hasn't been reconciled.
And when you look at how that has affected generations of people today, the Black Tulsa community, that pain for many has never gone away.
Or people couldn't say, hey, my place got looted, it got burned, it was completely destroyed. You know, my business was worth $20,000 and I'd like to recoup that money to rebuild.
Now, this happened in the past, but slavery is another example. Mothers being ripped from their babies, fathers too, and generations later, it's still happening today. Every 1 in 3 black men spend time in jail or prison, away from families that really need them.
Think about young boys and even young ladies who are in households where there's no male role model around to share with him what it's like to be a man, to share with him what it's like, you know, to be a foundational factor within a household.
You know, this story is just one example of historical trauma. You have the Jewish with the Holocaust, the Native Americans with the Trail of Tears. But how do we all heal from this? I'll talk to you more about that coming up in the next half hour. Live in Tulsa, I'm Tatiana Taylor. 2 Works for You.